no numbers, there's no pictures, there's no videos, there's no gameplay. I don't like it.
Yo, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. And today, Framers, we are back with another Palia lore reading. This time around, we are going to be telling the complete story of Zayid and Zaak Coinstack. Now, I'm going to give you guys a lot of context for this whole lore reading. This is going to be a long one because this is going back on old lore that I read a year ago. I kind of gave you guys the whole story. And we're going to start with a little bit of a recap before we get into the new material that Singularity 6 has went live with. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So to start, we're going to talk about the video that I made a year ago, which is crazy that was a year ago. The complete story of Prismbeard's voyage. In Greed Comes Fall. That whole story was cool, just going around Bahari Bay, because I spent a lot of time there and going around finding these lore pieces just all around the map. And it's weird. Greed, like the whole story of Prismbeard's voyage, it's real sad, man. It's not like, I swear, dude, like, Singularity 6 is good at writing stories. Good at writing? I don't know. Because I notice a lot of typos in their stuff. But, the stories start with intrigue, at least for the Prismbeard stuff. And then, for Prismbeard stories, they always end sad. It's kind of unfortunate, but, like, it's really good. It's good storytelling. Because that's kind of how I like to write, I think. I like to start the whole thing with intrigue, adventure, or whatever. They kind of end things on a dark note or a sad note. Sometimes I write happy endings, but yeah. But going into this, we're going to be talking about Prismbeard's voyage first before we get into the new material, because there's a lot to cover. So starting off, so all of these stories kind of go in order. It goes, in spring comes summer, in summer comes fall, in fall comes winter, and then in winter comes spring. It's a 4-part series that I've already read, but we are going to read it again to get you guys kind of recapped on this whole story and the lore. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. So, in spring comes summer. Been a long time since I thought of my story, but I'm running out of days to tell it. If you be seeking the vault of the prestigious Prismbeard, you're on the right trail. Became a pirate for one reason, to piss off my father. Ain't common in Grimlooking culture to stay close to your parents, but I did just to spite him. The name of my ship, Eelbard's Revenge, is his. No, he hated that more than anything. This is a hard voice to do. I heard even his neighbors would ask him about my pillagings. Slowly built out the crew, Grimlooking and Majiri alike. We became the merriest band of vault raiders this side of Palia ever did see. Everything changed when I finally met Camila. She had me at sword point, right at this very cliffside. The rest of this story is one only a real treasure hunter can know. So the whole story is kind of like, it's interesting. I don't know when he wrote this, probably before Elderwood came out, but I don't know if Singularity 6 knew if they were going to write more about Prismbeard when they wrote this. Because, like, it says, been a long time since I thought of my story, but I'm running out of days to tell it. Like, that's foreshadowing, unfortunately. But yeah, so let's keep going here. In summer comes fall. Where was I? Right, met the love of my life with her sword to my throat. She'd gotten each and every member of me crew loaded to the gunwales at our camp, then sent them back to the ship. Once I was alone, she followed me up the hill when I went to drop some water weight, and had me at sword point before I could call for help. Not that it'd do any good. Said she had the map to the greatest Grimlooking vault of all time, and was taking me ship and crew to find it. Unfortunately for her, she couldn't resist my catty charms. convinced her to take me with her, and I became her first mate. Doesn't say the name here, does it? I think it will in the next one, but let's keep going. The path to the Great Vault was an adventure too incredible and salty to describe, and the whole time we grew closer and closer, camped up and down this shore. I like to think this very camp was where we fell in love. After 2 years of searching, I began to question whether we even cared anymore. Camilla, however, never forgot, and one day we made landfall near the vault. The story is a whole treasure on its own, and I'm out of dry paper. I'll save it for the next statue. So Camilla is kind of what set all of this into motion, because obviously, like, Camilla was basically threatening Prisonbeard to take his ship, and like that she had the map to the greatest Grimalkin vault of all time. But then Prisonbeard convinced her to take him with her, and became first mate. This vault is kind of what sets things in motion here, but Prisonbeard had a thing for Camilla, and I don't know if Camilla felt the same way, but it's clear here that, like, the vault was, like, this big problem. And it's wild, how this whole story goes. But anyway, let's keep going. In fall comes winter. Guess you'll notice the mix of Majiri and human ruins. I wasn't exactly going to build this vault myself. Been telling a story of the greatest vault raid to ever happen. Camilla had finally found the great vault of Grimalkis, and we just needed to get through it. And I don't know who Grimalkis is. He hasn't been mentioned again in the lore, so probably not an important character. I think it was just for storytelling, but anyway. Suppose this is where things get kind of sad. The traps on the vault, they were too dangerous to be sending the crew into. Told her not to go in. Tried to tell her we were already had enough to live out our lives to old age. She pulled rank on me for the first time in years. Sent me to my own brig. She took the crew in, and I don't know what happened in there. I waited 1 day, 2 days. On the third, I broke out of the brig. I had a spare key. When I came to the deck, there was no sign of them. By the 7th day on that blasted island, I finally accepted the truth. Not all vaults are meant to be pilfered. Managed to sail Eobard's Revenge back to port myself, and did some things I'm not proud of. Eventually, I put up some memorials for the crew in the garden in Klima. I visit them every so often. Much as I love for ye to think me a legend, I'm just a Grimalkin, and once ye understand me tale, perhaps you'll have a treasure of your own. So, it's really sad because, you know, they end up going to raid this vault, but apparently it was just, like, littered with traps, and they never came out. And it's presumed that the whole crew died. And Prisonbeard was the only one to make it out because he got thrown in the brig. But what's interesting is, like, obviously we don't know how far they were writing the story out or what they had in mind for Prisonbeard. But he sailed, Prisonbeard sailed Eobard's Revenge back to port himself, and he did something he's not proud of, but he eventually put up some memorials for the crew in that garden in Kalima. I did look in that, I know what garden he's talking about, the cemetery, basically, where Ashura goes to, like, remember her son. I went there, and there's not a single grave for Camilla, I think. Well, there might have been. I don't remember seeing any, so it probably wasn't put in game, but, like, the lore is there, so he definitely did something there to remember them by. But yeah, it's interesting that, like, he says, much as I love for you to think of me a legend, I'm just a Grimalkin. He was just a Grimalkin. Like, he wasn't anyone special. He was just a dude, right? But yeah, it's crazy. And then I thought the story ended, like, because I think I had been picking up lore after lore page of this because I hadn't found all the statues until, like, episode 100 of the playthrough. And when I found the last one, like, it was kind of, it was interesting to read, but funny enough, like, I had the complete story and I was like, I gotta make a video on it, so I did. But let's finish this one off. In winter comes spring. Saw you solved it. Enjoy the treasure of Prismbeard the prestigious, ya lubber. Truth is, any real treasure I had is long gone. The crew, the gal, the ship. Well, not the ship. Still have that. And I'll sink it before the likes of ye can have it. Funny to write that. Always thought that line was something corny that lubbers repeated to make themselves feel better. And don't get me wrong, treasure is great, but I spent most of it buying the crew and Camilla lovely things. And to get the heat off our backs, seeing them happy, well, that made me happier than any gold locked in a vault ever could. You can't spend it when you're dead, yeah? The doc said I ain't got many good years left. Thing is, I still got my ship, a few good lads, and a heart ready to be filled with new adventures. Plus, I hear word of some waters that might cure my ails, way out there across the sea. The real treasure, the memories of those old people, those old adventures that'll stick with me until the end. Camilla made these for me before she passed. Hope her memory can bring you as much joy as it brings me. And, so that is where the story ends. So basically, it's interesting that he says, like, the doc said he's not got a lot of good years left. So what I presumed when I finished the story was that Prismbeard had died. Because he doesn't have a lot of good few years left. But I mean, that it's kind of an open-ended story, almost like there could be more with Prismbeard. And I was not expecting them to do, because they dropped the whole pirate decor set, which is basically Prismbeard's set. I would call it that anyway. And it's probably all of Prismbeard's loot, if anything. But I did not expect them to do a whole quest line about Prismbeard. And it's nuts. It's crazy. And we're going to dive into it. So, the quest starts off with a little bit of a treasure hunt, and I did get a little confused on where all of these were. I tried my best to find them all. But yeah, I did this all in the playthrough, so if you guys do want to watch it, those videos are up. But yeah, it starts with a few little whole treasure hunt, which is really cool. Really neat, actually, just the fact that, like, you got all this. And also, I forgot to mention, like, the fact that, like, there's a Prismbeard, like, set in the store, which dropped after the pirate decor set dropped. So kind of crazy. They really like Prismbeard as a character. And I'm pretty sure this is where Prismbeard's story finally comes to a close, but yeah. But yeah, there's all these treasure maps, and then I believe that's the last one, and then yeah, you get a riddle once you've finished all of that. And it says, now that you've found me spots hidden 3, return to the place where me face be carved be, speak out these words and receive your due prize, a fitting reward for Prismbeard's demise. So I kind of read that as like Prismbeard's dead, which is interesting. Prismbeard's demise. So you get like a reward for getting to the end of this whole quest. It's interesting. It's very cool though. But let's keep going with this. So there was like a prompt here where the statue spoke, which says, "Ye who seek treasure, ye who seek fame, ye who seek all under Prismbeard's name, hear ye this tale as ye follow me past, from the start of the journey till I breathed me last." So eventually, so this is it's weird. They're telling us that Prismbeard did die, and we're gonna find out like how it happened, or like, because I've kind of skimmed. I haven't read all of the lore here, so we're gonna read it here. But yeah, it's interesting that they're like saying, "Hey, Prismbeard's gone, but he left you this," you know. So yeah, let's get into it. So there's a whole. You get this thing from Kaleri, and she just has Prismbeard clippings that she didn't bother to share. I swear, man, Kaleri's holding on to some lore, and I want it. You know? But yeah, we're gonna read this. Prismbeard Clippings, a Quindu Digest, 10th Anniversary Edition. Behind the Beard, A Pirate's Life by Zilly Truthseeker. I don't remember that name, but I don't know if it's been mentioned in lore before, but I'm not sure. But yeah, let's do this. The legendary Grimalkin pirate Prismbeard, whose true name remains one of the world's greatest mysteries, was born and raised in the forest just outside of the Zendru outpost, or so the legends say. Aboard Eobard's Revenge, he and his crew sailed the world's seas, discovering treasure, exploring uncharted land, and stealing from the rich and powerful. His main base of operations his main base of operations were at and around Bahari Province and its neighboring territories, but evidence of his presence can be traced across the Palian Republic and the Kingdom of Umbra. But what of the man behind the name? In truth, though I traveled to the outpost myself and record the stories of the locals, little remains of this larger-than-life figure. There were, however, many stories about a boy the locals fondly called Zayid Coinstack. So, Prisonbeard's real name is Zayid Coinstack, which is so interesting that his real name was something completely different than Prisonbeard, which is... I think just to hide his name, but also like it's wild to find that out in this lore. I love that they're expanding on it, but yeah. But it's interesting, like, so they mentioned the Palian Republic and the Kingdom of Umbra. So we've got it's wild to me, first off, that like Prisonbeard crashed his ship in Elderwood. And you wouldn't have known that, but I guess like you had hints of things like he was in Kalima. He was there. He went to a cemetery to pay respects to his crew that died. And then, you know, he planted all of his clues around Bahari Bay, his, like, story of what happened. And then you get this final thing, this, like, last hurrah of a quest in doing so many riddles and treasure hunting. It's wild. But to find out his real name is crazy. But then there's also a revelation here that I want to talk about, which is interesting. But let's keep going. Pictured above, the shack where Zayid and his brother grew up. So Prisonbeard, or Zayid, has a brother. Which is crazy because this is a new character. They've never, like, Prisonbeard himself has never mentioned a brother at all. He's never said he's had one, probably because he was moving on from the life he used to live, and Prisonbeard was his new life. So it is wild to read that he had a brother. And that shack, so I found a location of where that was. I think everyone did, but like it's not there anymore, which is interesting. It's just gone. It's just like, it's wild. But yeah, let's keep reading. The early years, I had the privilege of speaking to a few Umbrans at Zendru Outpost who had stories of precocious Grimalkin kitten that often got in trouble when he came to town. Wherever, I don't know how I want to read, I'll probably, wherever that boy went, trouble was sure to follow, and that poor brother of his, always caught in his mess. I don't know how his mother raised those two boys all on her own, said one witness. Her husband chimed in, a fond smile on his wizened face. But he had a sweet side. He always loved the sea. He'd follow the fishermen around after they got back from trips, asking about the boats. And then there's a pictured above, the pond where Zayid reportedly sailed toy boats with his brother. And in these pictures, it's like, it's weird. It's like trying to paint a new picture here of, like, you know, it's like disconnecting Prisonbeard entirely with the story. It's talking about Zayid and his brother. And just, it's honing in on, like, yeah, these two had a connection. That was really cool. But obviously Prisonbeard was kind of a loner, and he had a crew. He never mentioned a brother. So it's interesting. He had two separate lives, and he was trying to disconnect from this one. But it's like, it's interesting, like each photo is mentioning the brother. I think there's one that doesn't, but again, still have to read on here, but let's keep going. The departure. Another resident told me Zayid just up and disappeared one day. He was always working on them boats of his over by Day Murdoch's. When he finished, he sailed away and never looked back. You really think he's Prisonbeard? It's true that the story matches the earliest legends of Prisonbeard among seafaring folk. It said he first sailed from his home on Eobard's Revenge the First, which was later sunken after a skirmish with his adversaries. Prisonbeard built later renditions of Eobard's Revenge over the years, stronger and more impressive than the last. Seemingly returning from the dead, back for revenge just like its captain, as many claimed. Still, the sentiment among those I interviewed was that they could not reconcile the charming, troublemaking Zayid with the stories they've heard of the dread pirate Prisonbeard. So it's wild to me, like, that they don't... So the people in the town don't believe that Zayid was Prisonbeard, but it's kind of hard to deny when, like, he disappears or whatever, and, like, he just sailed away and never looked back. Like, you don't think that's Prisonbeard? I don't know. But it is... Zayid and Prisonbeard are one and the same. They're just, you know... Prisonbeard is an alternate identity. And then, of course, we got another photo here. Pictured above, the young Zayid left by boat one day from Day Murdoch's, and a few months later, Prisonbeard's name first appeared in papers. So it's kind of it's a coincidence, but, like, it really isn't. I mean, they are the same person, but it's wild. Let's keep going. Prisonbeard captured, awaits transfer by Farah Segawa. The infamous pirate Prisonbeard has evaded another arrest attempt by Republic authorities. This makes the third known escape just this year. After confidential informants report sightings of the notorious criminal making port at Day Murdoch, the Republic Umbran Joint Task Force, headed by investigators Zaak, Coinstack, was dispatched. So real quick before we keep reading, Zaak Coinstack, that's Zayid's brother. The only time his name has been mentioned is here, which is wild. They just kind of tease it a little bit. But it's wild where, like, Zayid and Zaak kind of took different paths entirely, which it's interesting. So Zayid went on to be Prisonbeard, this, like, ruthless pirate, and Zaak went to go work for the Umbran Republic as, like, an investigator. Two completely... It's like they're opposites at that point. Two completely different career paths, and then suddenly they, like, their paths cross, and now they're at odds. It's interesting. The operation resulted in a several-hour-long chase, culminating in his capture at the Zendru Central Stables. He's currently being held within the Elderwood until jurisdiction can be established. Both the Republic of Palia and the Kingdom of Umbra lay claim to the right of prosecution. While the Joint Task Force was a rare collaboration between two nations that have been seeing rising tensions, this latest clash could have led to things boiling over. That's interesting. So they, in the stables, this is where they caught him. Pictured above, the location where the Republic of Umbra Joint Task Force apprehended Prisonbeard. So Prisonbeard got caught, like, years later or something. Which is, it's just wild to me to find that out. Like, that he actually got caught. Probably because he was getting sloppy or something, but, like, I don't know, the fact, like, he was just hanging out in, like, Bahari Bay, Kalima Village, Elderwood even, it's like someone was gonna notice. You know, I think his time was definitely running out, but let's keep going. Oh wait, is this a new... I didn't even realize. Nautical Times, issue 78, and this will be issue 79. Prisonbeard escapes. Bounty for captured doubles by Farah Segawa. After weeks of little progress, Umbran and Republic representatives finally agreed on terms to prosecute the notorious pirate Prisonbeard, but the news has come too late. According to lead investigator Coinstack, while the politicians were trying to hash things out in the courtroom, the pirate used the chaos to slip away unseen. This marks the third time Prisonbeard has been under detainment, and the third time he has escaped. When asked for comment, investigator Coinstack said, "I promise the people of the Republic and Umbra both that I am wholly dedicated to bringing Prisonbeard to justice. Whether Umbra and the Republic can cooperate long enough for this to happen remains to be seen." And then we have the image pictured above. The outpost where Prisonbeard made his escape. So it's interesting, like, he got away, and, like, his brother is still determined to capture him. But I'm wondering at that point, does Zaak know that Prisonbeard is Zayid? But It's not clear in this, but it's clear in like the other entries here. But so that's the end of the Prison Beard clippings. There is more. There's like key clues here. You have to read through the book to actually find out like where the quest locations are. So we'll read these. The path to me treasure begins here, and at the place I hold most dear. Next ye must take a little trip to the place where I sailed me first ship. The first ship I built weren't seaworthy, no, but I built it together with me only bro. Next ye must find where I first set sail. On this dock I once kept me lucky pail. So it's interesting, so where he sailed his first ship. So he is confirming here that he is Zayid. But then here it's like he built the ship with his brother. So his brother must have known he was Prison Beard. Like, there's no doubt in my mind they didn't know. But let's keep going. 3 became 2 as I sailed out that day. Then 2 became 1 when our ma passed away. Next he must find where Prison Beard was caught. There in the dark, many fires were shot. Many fires were shot. That's interesting. But 3 became 2 as I sailed out that day. So when Prison Beard left, 3 became 2. So that was Zaak and the mom, which the mom doesn't have a name. I don't know why the mom's a name. Probably doesn't matter. But then 2 became 1 when their mother passed away. So then Zaak at that point was all alone, which probably left him heartbroken. That's why he went to be an investigator. But next he must find where Prison Beard was caught. There in the dark, many fires were shot. I'm wondering if Prison Beard got shot at, but I don't know. Anyway, let's keep going. 'Twas here where 2 brothers did first reunite, not as friends but as foes, so I put up a fight. Next he must find where I made me escape. 'Twas at that old tower where it all took shape. So yeah, Prison Beard, he put up a fight. Yeah, 2 brothers did first reunite. So maybe they both knew. Obviously, like Zayid would recognize Zaak and they would recognize each other, but I don't know. And then the last one. Ye found where Prison Beard got away. 2 brothers departing with still more to say. Now ye must find where this chapter ends, or looking the ruins of Eobard's revenge. So everything ties back to going back to the cave, which is crazy. Because you end up going through a door to get to some riddles. And then you get to this part and you read, There once was a family who lived under trees. 2 sons they did have, who both dreamed of the sea. The first stayed at home, while the second did roam. Now here comes the question, which one was me? Now, when I first read this, I was like, okay, well, who both dreamed of the sea. The first stayed at home, while the second did roam. Now here comes the question, which one was me? You'd think it'd be the second one, but which one was me? So it kind of, like, you go back to this one, not as friends, but as, so 'twas here where 2 brothers did first reunite, not as friends, but as foes, so I put up a fight. So I put up a fight. And, like, next you must find where I made me escape. So it's referring to Prison Beard there, but here it says, so I put up a fight. But we know that Zaak was leading the investigation. So whether or not that was Zayid or Zaak, it's not really clear. But then you get to this point. It says, 2 sons, there once was a family who lived under trees. 2 sons they did have, who both dreamed of the sea. The first stayed at home, while the second did roam. Now here comes the question, which one is me? Like, which one was me? And I'm thinking this is referring to the first. It's referring to Zaak, not referring to Zayid. Because it's now here comes the question, which one is me? It's like, why are you asking that? But then it's kind of revealed here. So clue number 1, I'm going to read the clues because they don't really have importance, but they're kind of neat just to read them. The storms in the west be deadly at best, but that's where Charybdis put me to the test. A whirlpool that bites is the source of much fright. Still, in me and my hearties made it through the night. So this is kind of talking about, like, Prison Beard's, like, voyages that he went on that wasn't in the 4 pages we read. And then there's another one, clue number 2. The Leviathan causes shivers down spines, so in the south I made the beast mine. On glaciers we clashed, the waves they did lash, and with a flick of me sword it was gone in a flash. So like Prisonbeard's talking about just like all the things he fought here, like a Sharbadis, which I had to look up, it's crazy looking. Then he fought a Leviathan, and then there's this one, clue number 3. The siren still rules when she caught me in one eye, for no beastie nor beauty can tempt me to die. So I cast me old net in the north where she be. Now she's held in me pool that I built by the sea. He also fought a siren. Moving on. Clue number 4. The Kraken of the East is one mighty beast. Add butter and lemon for one mighty feast. To crack her fine shell we went hither and yon. With one shot of me harpoon, the Kraken was gone. He's talking about all the things he's fought. Like, this voyage is just, like, it's never ending. You know, he keeps talking about it. But then we get to the really depressing part of the story, because this whole thing is filled with so much intrigue. Like, new characters, new revelations. It's crazy. And it's just, it's a wild story. But I'm going to read the next 3 pages here. I believe we have 3 left. Yes. So without further ado, let's read. Journal entry. The sun has risen on another day. And also, I just want to call that out. That's a Free Realms reference. You can't say it's not because of Chatty the plushie. Deal with it. The sun has risen on another day. Free Realms sunrise. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, moving on. The weather is getting warmer. It reminds me of the summer days of our youth, when we'd sneak out while Ma was still asleep to play pirate on the beach. You were the captain, and I was your lieutenant. We journeyed to places unseen, survived what no one ever had, and discovered treasure legend spoke of. Out on the sea, free from the world's burdens, that was the life we dreamt of having. Until that day by the docks, when I watched you sail away on the boat we built and realized I was alone in wanting that life together. Years I spent resenting you, dedicating every waking moment to chasing your shadow. In my sleep, I was plagued by the phantoms of the past. Every time I had you within my grasp, you slipped away yet again, to the sea, until one stormy night, where I found you on the shore. Your 9 lives had finally run out. Where did we go wrong, brother? You asked me, as you struggled to stay awake in my arms. As I stared into your eyes, I saw the brother I once knew and loved. The one who snuck me extra sardines at the table when Ma wasn't looking. Helped me overcome my fear of the deep. And gave me a zest for life. I found the real treasure. Now it's your turn. Those were your last words, and you fell into eternal sleep with a smile on your face. As your journey ended, mine began. I put on your eye patch and responded to the call of the sea. I made sure the world wouldn't forget Prisonbeard, that they wouldn't forget you. I laid you to rest by the ship you adored, and soon I'll join you too. It's been a long night, brother. I'm glad to be home. Dude, Singular 6 hits you in the feels, man. It is actually insane. So, this whole treasure hunt, this riddle that Prisonbeard set up, it wasn't Prisonbeard, but it was. Zaak set this whole thing up. To kind of give a final, like, story of Prisonbeard. To give him, like, the final recountings of what happened and why. But yeah, he died. And like he was saying in the lore readings we read earlier, like, Prisonbeard didn't have long. He had a few good years left, but he didn't have long to live. And I think the point was him, like, just hanging out. He knew his time was coming, and he didn't really care about what happened, you know? But yeah, it's wild, like, that Zaak told his story again, And I don't know, I think Prison Beard set up the Bahari Bay ones, like those riddles, obviously, because he was telling a story. Zaak obviously set all this up, and then, you know, Prison Beard ran from the tower, but Zaak eventually found Zayid, and he died, which is crazy, as 9 lives have finally run out, which just is wild. Wild way to end the story, and I'm glad they told this, because I was always wondering, like, were we gonna hear from Prison Beard again? And all the like little things like the pirate treasure, Prison Beard's outfit. There's so many unknowns, and I really wanted to know if we were going to get some information. And then we got a whole quest line and a whole story, and it's complete now. Like, Prison Beard's story is done, which I'm really happy about, because this is probably one of my favorite stories to read, because it's just like, there's intrigue, there's adventure, and then there's depression and sadness. It's wild. And then Zaak took up the role of Prison Beard. So Zaak, I don't know if he's still alive. I don't know if, like, we're gonna see Prison Beard like Zaak, if we're gonna see him. But they had the same dream, and it's wild that, like, Zayid just left. He just up and left. And then that left Zaak, like, all alone, and led him to become an investigator. But apparently, so the reason we can't, so I've tried getting to Prison Beard's ship, the Eobard's Revenge, because it's just sitting up on the rocks. You can't get to it. There's invisible walls blocking the way to it, but it's just let people go up there and, like, have a reason to go up there. I think that'd be cool. But the point of the story is, like, he said, I lay you to rest by the ship you adored, and soon I'll join you too. So he's laid to rest on the ship, which it's a wild revelation, whatever, that Prison Beard is on that ship. His corpse is there, basically. He was laid to rest there. It said by the ship, so I don't know if it's on it or just by it, but yeah, that's where he's laid to rest, and yeah, it's wild. So whether or not we hear from Prison Beard again, I don't think we will. I think the story is kind of done. It was a really good story. Genuinely one of my favorites. Although obviously there's been other cool little lore things. I think the story of Honor, I don't remember her name. The story of Oris. Probably another one of my favorites. But let me tell you, man, Singular 6 knows how to write some good stories. Need to work on the writing side of things a bit, but yeah, I can tell they put a lot of work into this quest, and hey, if there's more from Prison Beard, I'm all for it, you know? But anywho, that's going to be the video for today, but thank you guys for watching, hanging out. I appreciate it a ton, and I will see you guys in the next video, and yeah, goodbye!